Crypto versus macro headwinds. Today we'll break it down for you. There's a lot that is brewing, and this may start to line up for where this market could go. You've probably heard me mention Uphold before, and there's a reason I keep talking about them. Uphold makes it incredibly easy to bridge the gap between your portfolio and the real world. This has not been done before. Their Uphold debit card is the best example of that. It lets you spend your crypto or your cash anywhere Visa is accepted, all while earning 4% back in XRP on every purchase. It's the easiest way to stack rewards on your daily spending. Download the Uphold app for more and get started. Of course, let's just jump right into it. I want to lead off with this right here, and it's kind of an interesting tweet. President Trump posted an image claiming the Strait of Hormuz is now the new U.S. territory. And of course, we're looking at $85 a barrel oil price as all of this is going. And I think this again gets back into the rhetoric that comes out of the White House with what's going on in Iran. Here it is right here. President Trump says there are no talks or conversations going on or even scheduled with Iran. So this is the issue right now we're dealing with, not only from a point that where we have an issue coming in on energy prices, but also just how long is this thing going to last in the sense of a war, or if the U.S. is even in it. Now, I want to go to a clip real quick, because this is Kevin McCarthy kind of looking at how this may affect midterms. Take a look.
You have an unpopular war that has extended more than 6 months at this point. You have gasoline prices that have been higher and consumers that are tired of inflation. Where do you think we are in terms of a potential solution?
I think Iran is always going to wait till after the election. Thinks it gives them some advantage. People are not focused just yet. In the next 4 weeks, it'll really show out. You win elections by getting your base and the swing vote. Right now, the Democrats are winning because their base is excited about voting and the Republicans are not. Republican advantage, money, and redistricting for the House. Even though Republicans sit about 219, they got 10 more seats before the election happens. They only have to win 3 of these 18.
How much of this is a referendum, though, on the White House versus something else?
Well, off years are always bad for the party in power. That's given. Only 2 times in 90 years did the party in power gain seats. So you're going against the trend. But you've got to remember, redistricting is different, and Republicans have a money advantage. I think it's more about the economy.
That's
the number one issue is the economy, and if you talk about anything else, you're losing.
Well, that I agree with. I think the economy is going to be the issue come midterm. And when you look at the situation right now in the Senate, Republicans now have narrowed the gap here to 51% as a chance to keep the Senate. But there are some solid blue potentials now coming in, and it still is up for grabs. So this is very early. Yes, we're still just a few months away. But the House, of course, looks to be lost. This is an 88% chance that the Democrats take the House. So it really boils down to how will this look and what will this play into if the Senate and the House are both lost to the Democratic Party. And I think that will be the point that everybody is pushing for based on 1 or 2 things. And the biggest one is going to be energy price. You look at oil's reaction to the U.S.-Iranian war. Even though it's getting smaller, Brent crude now just up $2 since the MOU expired. And I think this point may be a bad thing if you look at, one, the market insensitivity to this, but also what does this look like if we start to see an extension, or better yet, what happens if we start to see an escalation in terms of true price increases on crude oil? And of course, if you look at it right here, this was its bottom on July 6th, not the bottom of where the market was, but at least on the potential of an ending of war. So it's got the potential to go down at $68 a barrel. Then the explosion, because of the erratic nature that we've had on negotiations, came back down when there was a possible hope. And then here we are back at 85 right now. And I think this is the factor. Do we head back to a $100 barrel in the near months? And especially if timing lands around midterms, that is going to be a narrative, I think, that would be huge for the Democrats. Now, with all this happening, Bitcoin's biggest critic, Peter Schiff, says, I'm not sure why Bitcoin didn't sell off today. And he's calling the rally kind of another opportunity to sell. And instead, we are in a position right now where Bitcoin and crypto in general has been holding as Bitcoin nears the 65K mark. And I think this has been a bit of a surprise to some of those out there. One of the catalysts that could be into this is Jane Street bought 225 million of Michael Saylor's strategy shares. That's a pretty good position. And this is now worth 250 million. So overall, Jane Street still pushing in on that. If you look at where strategy is right now, you can kind of see it has bottomed out here and held around that 89 to 97 range, which is maybe the bottom. We'll take a look at this in a few months to see if this was in fact the case and is Jane Street right. Let's go into this piece right here. This is a big deal because it puts the DTCC overseeing 114 trillion in securities. This, of course, all launches on tokenized service in 2 months. You'll get everything from Russell 1000, all your favorite securities out there, all available. Now, this allows institutions to tokenize shares right now and move them between, an interesting word, approved wallets. So the real question is, how does that apply? Who does it apply to on this 24/7 ruling? And I don't know. I think the devil is in the details for this. This will really start to play out as we get more clarity on that. And if you look at the Blockchain Association, they essentially put out a letter to try to push back against this to create something that would kind of level the playing field and not allow the DTCC to have somewhat of a monopoly on this. So they submitted a comment letter urging the SEC to basically rescind the outdated rules of 611 and 610. So I don't know if this is going to have a major impact. It might be mostly institutional capital. The question will be, will retail play into this more on the DeFi side, or will we just simply see the DCC start to take all of tokenized securities going forward? Other news right here, you have Citi announcing a big deal because they have now announced Custody Plus. I guess they are now custodying crypto, and they're going to do near real-time custody solutions. Not sure what near real-time means, but we'll be watching this one closely because this could be another big deal. And also an issue of what can you do with this real-time custody with Custody Plus. All of that coming into the market right now. And this is all timed at a time in which clarity has not been solidified, and also with midterms coming up as well. So this starts to change the structure of how things could play out. Here is Anthony Scaramucci. He's talking about whether or not Bitcoin has a catalyst here, with or without clarity. Take a look.
I don't see a near-term catalyst, frankly, other than that supply-demand differential. Moreover, I don't think the Clarity Act, should it pass, and they still believe they can get this passed in September, that might be a tiny catalyst, but I don't see that as being a big catalyst either. So this is a grinding situation.
Well, explain it to the audience. Why I would have thought that having this bill would be a big boon to the business.
Put simply, there'll be a lot of access opportunities for banks, and there'll be a lot of changes in the way you can hold your Bitcoin in the United States. It is a contrarian opinion, by the way. I'm just saying, yes, if it passes, it's great for us long term, Andrew, and obviously I really do want to see it pass. But I'm not the perma bull where I'm just going to tell you nonsense on television.
All right, so there was Mooch talking about that in the sense that it may not necessarily have implementation into the market. Mike Novagratz, we played this clip, I think, to a certain extent before, but I want to kind of revisit this because it gets into the strategy that maybe the House and the Senate are dealing with right now, and the White House, and whether or not Trump even wants clarity. Take a look.
Trump won in his mind. He won all the crypto money, and he won a lot of places because he was a pro-crypto president. Listen, if they come out in the next 2 days and say, hey, we're going to take this compromise that 5 Republican senators are behind, right, Tillis and a bunch of them, we'll do this, then you can blame the Democrats. But I fear that Trump doesn't want this to pass because he wants to be able to say, hey, it's the Democrats' fault. And I don't think he's going to be able to. I think Tillis has boxed him in to say, hey, it's a very fair compromise on ethics. But it's a question of, does the White House want this to pass now? And if so, it's going to pass. And if they don't, it'll wait till September maybe or not happen at all. Because it is powerful. People will blame Democrats more than Republicans, and the White House has got the bully pulpit, and they're going to say it's their fault, their fault. But the reality is, it's right there on their plate right now.
Well, there it is right there in the sense of how this plays out. A lot of strategies being looked at right now, especially this week where you have the White House meeting with crypto industry executives And I think this is maybe positioning, as well as the SEC and the CFTC, this is maybe positioning how the industry can deal with this going into the midterms. All right, just as a reminder this week, DC, of course, is going to be on the offensive. Here you have Mike Selig of the CFTC doing what appeared to be a very, very polished video on this. I'm not sure who paid for this, but years, anti-crypto armies, doomers, decelerationist, all stifled innovation. You kind of get the picture right here. And the CFTC is planning to turn the page, all of this happening to, well, this week, August 20th on Thursday. So get ready for either a nothing burger that's going to come out of this, or maybe there's going to be some sort of decision or at least indication of how some of these negotiations are going to be done with the Democrats. Other things that are being negotiated right now is the OCC has conditionally approved the Trump-linked World Liberty 5 for a national trust bank charter. They'll be able to issue USD1 and custody digital assets now, which is a huge, huge issue because it does put a lot of pressure, as we all know, on BitGo. Remember, BitGo is the company that was handling capacity and also the situation around custody for USD1. So interesting times ahead for what's going to happen there. And it also kind of gets it into a position where USD1 could, I guess the government is going to oversee the Trump's operation on being able to print stablecoins. This is going to get interesting, guys. Here's a clip that Scaramucci talks about this. Take a look.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't really think that's that big of a grenade. I mean, that was like not even an M80. I mean, listen, I don't think it's fair to take his family members who are business people and tell them, well, you know, your dad's the president, so you can no longer transact in business. So I do not think that that's fair. It has to be looked at carefully just to make sure that they're not great conflicts of interest.
I sort of
teamed up that
way.
I'm a capitalist.
The idea that a lot of these crypto companies are going to get bank charters and what that ultimately does to the business longer term.
You know, I don't want to speak for Coinbase or others, but I think it would be prudent for them to get banking licenses. And, you know, the World Liberty situation could be a tell.
All right, could be a tell. Now, remember, we showed a tweet by Secretary Bessent not too long ago. They were talking about the implementation of the Genius Act, which really kind of sets up the closing of the doors around where stablecoin issuers are going to be done. So interesting timing here with this. And what Mooch is talking about, I'm just not sure, because this, of course, is and appears to be a heavy conflict of interest. Here was Austin Campbell speaking out against this, simply said, the OCC, which would be allowing this, is now, which could give any bank or stablecoin issue that objects the death penalty. So you think about that, because Trump essentially is controlling what's happening with the OCC. This is a big deal, because when you look at long term, how this plays out, especially in the midterms, what could happen if, in fact, the Democrats end up winning this, meaning the midterms? If they do, there's going to be trial and hearing and trial and hearing after hearing. It's going to be unbelievable. Here's Austin Campbell asking, well, you take a look.
If the Democrats take back the House or the Senate or both, these guys become public enemy number one from an investigation perspective. The thing I would point to is after 2028, because I will remind everybody that banking regulators have incredibly expansive powers in the United States, unlike the SEC and CFTC, who are much more constrained. Because this is a chartering process. If you have a Democratic president in 2028, they are going to walk in and demand every communication, every policy, every procedure, every decision, every commercial arrangement, and look through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and then have complete discretion to punish you for everything you did that was not perfect. Under a previous Democratic administration, crypto companies were discriminated against impermissibly by turning the process into the punishment in something that was called Operation Choke Point 2.0. But you could easily run, call it a more targeted and more direct version of that to make everybody's life hell and create very large civil and possibly criminal penalties here, depending on what they find. So bank charter powers are immense for the regulators. I would be very cautious about this.
All right, so you can kind of see what Chris Perkins, we had him on the show. We actually asked him that very same question. What happens if the Dems do shift the power and we start to see these kind of things roll out? If anything, it's going to put more and more pressure on crypto, much like maybe even worse, could be 10x worse than what we saw with FTX. So be thinking about that, guys, because it is an issue that we are now dealing with, especially as we go into a midterm with possibly a Democratic-controlled Senate and House. One other thing, when you look at this happening right now, the way it's happening, and you consider the narratives that this industry is most likely going to face, and that is that the big banks are going to win. They're going to start to implement all of this. You've got JP Morgan closing in on becoming the world's first $1 trillion bank. The power centers are shifting quickly. And I think this starts to roll into one simple note, and that is that where is crypto when all of this starts to happen? Does it get gobbled up by TradFi, or does it actually hold its ground going forward? And this could just be one of many major banks that go into that $1 trillion ecosystem in terms of value. So all of this is happening right now. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. What it does mean is you have to pay attention and really look at this market in a kind of in a new lens. So keep your eyes open. We'll be covering this a lot more. Take care. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.